Hello everyone, and welcome to the video. This video is a little different to all the others in this series. It started out as being an exploration of one of the most stunningly beautiful regions I have ever seen in my entire second life. It ended up being a mini movie, and one that will suit both adults and children. Adults will nod sagely at the moral of the story, and then, when out of earshot of any children, complain loudly about how schmaltzy it is. Children will have one of two reactions. They'll love it and want to be the princess, or they'll love it and tell everyone it's for sissies. Even if you're not interested in the movie, check out the wonderful scenery and go visit the Lost Unicorn Sanctuary. I do hope you stay to the end though. Enjoy the video. The fairy princess lived in a lovely forest full of colourful flowers, with beautiful magical beings all around her and friendly wild animals. But the fairy princess was sad. She didn't think she was beautiful. When she looked in the mirror, all she saw was an ugly fat monster, and she didn't feel worthy of the company of the creatures of the forest, or of being their princess. All she wanted was to find her prince, and feel she was worth something. She saw the other fairies chatting, and she was sure they were talking about her and how ugly she was. She saw them dance and play and felt even more alone. She even tried going off to dance on her own to see if it made her feel better. She moved with grace, her hair streaming in the wind and her wings fluttering like stars. She was a joy to behold because she danced for the sake of dancing, but she didn't know this. She was still sad. Finally, she decided that she would have to go in search of her prince if she was ever going to be happy. Which way should she go? There seemed to be danger whichever path she took. Eventually, she realised she just had to pick one and follow it as best she could. So she did. The path took her far away from her home. She had heard a legend that there was a wise woman she could ask anything of if she could find her. Even if she didn't have much faith in herself, she did in others, so she went to look for the wise woman. She was so intent on reaching her journey's end, she missed the beauty of the path and the sights along the way, but she was very aware of each time a tree root tripped her or she stumbled. Despite these difficulties though, she still kept going. Eventually, she came to the seashore. A boat was waiting there, bobbing happily on the water. She hopped in, wanting to see what it might feel like to be on the water. She didn't have time to think about getting out before the boat started to move on its own. She was whisked away. She had little choice but to sit there, and as she had no control over her situation, she finally started to notice some of the beautiful things around her. The boat took her towards a huge rocky island which had an enormous dragon curled around it. She was very afraid, but there was nothing she could do, so she had to sit there and hope the dragon wouldn't see her, or if it did, that it wasn't hungry. Finally, the boat turned in towards the island. It headed straight for a powerful waterfall, and the fairy princess was sure she would be dashed against the rocks or drowned. She needn't have worried. The boat passed right through the waterfall, and she found herself in a beautiful cave full of wonderful plants and sparkling lights. The boat made for a jetty, and when it stopped, she got out. If she hadn't been sure of where she was going, apparently the boat had been, and it hadn't got her into trouble so far, so she decided to trust it. She made her way up the many flights of stairs until she could see a doorway in the distance. It had a glowing symbol above it, and she felt sure there was something special in there. She'd come this far, she had to go in. When she got inside, she found that there were many statues in there, each with its own special alcove. She found a statue of the 3 witches from Macbeth. She wondered if one of the witches was the wise woman, but they all stayed silent. She found a statue of Pallas Athena, the great goddess of wisdom. She wondered if she was the wise one, but the statue stayed silent. Last of all, she found a statue of Medusa, the hideous monster of Greek legend. This couldn't possibly be the wise one. The statue spoke. "Are you judging a book by its cover, child?" "They always call you child if they're wise," thought the fairy princess. "It's a trope." The statue heard her thoughts but ignored them. "What did you want to ask me?" said the statue. The fairy princess didn't even have to think for a second in order to answer. "Where can I find my prince, please?" "To find your prince, you have to search the very depths. Go down below the waves and see what you can find there. When you've looked there, you must find the lost sanctuary of the unicorns. Speak to the unicorns and they will tell you the last thing you need to know to find your prince." The fairy princess thanked the hideous monster because she had manners. Then she left, in a hurry. The fairy princess was not sure how she'd cope with breathing underwater, but this is a fairy story and our heroes can do anything, so she was just fine. She was amazed at how much life there was at such depths. She could see things that were scary too, but even they had their own beauty. As she explored, she became more and more aware that there is beauty everywhere if you actually look. She started to enjoy her adventure and marvelled at every new thing she saw. even the scary ones. After many days of searching the depths and many scenes that we'll skip right over as the movie doesn't have a big enough budget, she had seen all she thought she could see. She didn't find anything to tell her where her prince was, but she remembered that the hideous monster had told her to find the lost sanctuary of the unicorns, so she went back up to the surface and searched for it. Eventually, she found a secret grove. It was secret until she found it. In the grove were many unicorns, beautiful creatures that were pure and magical. She didn't think that she was worthy to speak to them, but the hideous monster had told her to, so she plucked up the courage. "Oh, wise and mystical unicorns, might you please tell me where my prince can be found?" "Have you searched the depths, child?" "I have." "Have you discovered wonderful things deep inside?" "I have." "Have you returned to the surface and seen wonderful things here too?" "I have." "Then your prince will come, child. Go back home and look in your mirror." The fairy princess wasn't really impressed with the answer, but she figured that she didn't really have anything better to do. So she thanked the wise and mystical unicorns and left the grove to return home. During her journey, the fairy princess had gone deep inside herself when she went underwater. She discovered things of beauty can be hidden in the depths, even scary things. When she'd looked outside of herself and seen the beauty there, she had realised she was part of it all, not separate from it. So when she got home and went straight to her mirror and looked, to her surprise, but probably not ours, she was beautiful. Now she could see herself for what she really was, as unique and wonderful and magical as anything around her. So the morals of the story are: number 1, always say please and thank you to hideous monsters. Number 2, do what the unicorns say. Number 3, remember that no matter what you look like and who you are beautiful. Number 4, marry the prince. I hope you enjoyed the video. Join me for the next one when you've recovered from the sugar rush. Thank you for watching.